things that we've now told people, especially if they're from New York, if you're from New York, the green area there shown as the Woodlands, the size of the Woodlands, if we're in Manhattan, this is the Statue of Liberty, this is LaGuardia, this is Hoboken. If you're from San Francisco and you're coming in from the south, if this were the old Candlestick Park, this is the Golden Gate Bridge. The Woodlands is as big as San Francisco, as big as Manhattan. The sprawl of Houston is an incredible sprawl, as you know, if you get out and drive it. Green is what we have left to develop. Gray is the totality of land that we've had. A couple thousand more acres to go, 3,000 to 4,000 more home sales yet to be made. So we've got a few years to go. We will have some inventory when the EXXON wave hits. I don't think it has hit yet. In terms of how green we are, the numbers show 28% of the woodlands being left in some green condition. And one of the things that I talk about that is a big point of difference for the Woodlands is, if you look at Woodlands Parkway, Lake Woodlands, or Research Forest Drive, if those streets were anywhere else in Houston, they'd be full of curb cuts like you see on 1488. From Jiffy Lube to donut shops to retail to CVS to just curb cut after curb cut after curb cut. And the Woodlands, Mr. Mitchell and every other owner has left a fortune on the table by leaving those major thoroughfares full of trees and concentrating the retail in the village centers. Something to share with your people from out of town. Over 100,000 people, 40,000 homes. We're headed to 52,000 jobs. And if you saw the Chronicle article about those communities that are the most vibrant are the ones that import day population as opposed to being a bedroom community and then people go elsewhere to go to work. That's what makes for the vibrant downtown, and that's also healthy in live in Hughes Landing, which I'll thumb through some pictures about Hughes Landing as we get into the back half of the presentation. Pretty steady job growth. The slide begins at the beginning of the Woodlands in '74. The hard green is inception to date. We think we'll end at around 65,000 jobs. It's pretty steady year in, year out. That's why we enjoy home sales and resales. The green belt along Spring Creek, slide's familiar. Mitchell let his name be used, which is great. Wide range of housing, not as affordable as it used to be, but that's progress. If somebody looks back in the past, when we were north of 1,200, we had Harper's Landing, we had Windsor Hills, Windsor Lakes. We don't have those anymore. So to drop down now to a run rate of 700 to 900, we probably got another year or two of that number, and then we'll taper down. Again, 25 to 30% of the new home buyers come from the Woodlands. Y'all are familiar with getting people you've sold before to list and buy again. A strong endorsement of the community and everybody's desire to stay living here. We have some lots left in Fazio, not much, hardly anything left in Nicholas. 500 and some members in the club. It's doing well. East Shore, that's the end of East Shore. Several people at my table said we need another East Shore. I couldn't agree more, but we don't have another 200-acre lake. So it'll be what it'll be. Here's kind of the meat of the stats and the data having to do with, if you click through CNBC, Squawk Box, and the financial headline news, those people are forever very, very, very attention deficit type people. And the minute housing makes a recovery, as it did nationally a couple months ago, immediately they all started saying, well, it's a bubble, or is it a bubble? And so what I've got here is some stats about Houston that answers the question. The market that we have enjoyed this year, oh my goodness, I've never seen anything like where Houston is at. I've certainly never seen anything like where the Woodlands is at in terms of sales and demand. And so the question is, are we in a bubble? The next few slides are going to speak to that. Unemployment in Houston, lower than the nation, lower than Texas, approaching 5%. Very, very, very little unemployed people in Houston. Post Lehman Brothers, this slide goes back to 2000 through 2012, where the black line, closings, is above the red line. That means the builders are selling and closing more homes than they're starting. Only about a year ago did they start to build up inventory at a rate faster than they had been closing. whether it's U of H, State of Texas, or another research company, they project the population for Houston to run in this trajectory through 2020 on a bar graph. That's somewhat north of 150,000 population growth every year. And so the question then becomes, with that kind of population growth, where are they going to live? What are they going to live in? And Metro Study has derived demand per year, and their calcs say, historically and projected, if we're growing the population at 140,000 people a year, we need 32,000 new homes and 12,000 new apartments. And we've been at that level of growth for several years. And so, let's look back at, historically, the derived demand is in gray, and actual new home construction and closings is in red. And so where the red exceeds the demand, how in the heck did we sell and close more homes than the population growth said we needed? This is about Lehman Brothers. This is the subprime era. A lot of people got to buy a home thanks to subprime lending. Post Lehman Brothers, from 08 forward, the demand is much higher than the new homes delivered. So with that kind of imbalance, where are we today? Well, those people that got in subprime are still in those houses. They're still making their payments. They never lost their home. We never had a pop of foreclosures in the Houston area. This graph shows it from 07 to date. Houston, Harris County area forecloses about 1,000 a month. It never went up because thanks to the oil patch, fracking, energy, whatever, all of those people that got in a subprime loan are in that house making the payments. So that housing stock never became inventory. I don't need to tell you there's very few listings. Houston, end of last year, was under 20,000. At the end of the second quarter, I think it was like 17,000. There's just very, very, very little inventory. Spoken in terms of months supply, I think it's approaching 3 in the Houston, 3 months supply in Houston in total. And I've got some numbers in a minute that will talk about the Woodlands month supply in MLS. So, very little inventory. We've had a shortage of new home construction for 4 years as compared to the demand. And so, if you look at the apartments, so where are these people living? If the demand was there for a new home and it didn't get built, where are they living? Again, the gray is built, the red is apartments absorbed. And if you look here from 01, 2, 3, 4, the apartment industry built one heck of a lot more apartments than people moved into. There was a hurricane bloom and all the apartments filled up. Okay? So the apartment guys and ladies did what any developer does, they overbuilt. And so from 6, 7, 8, 9, we built many more apartments than were needed. So what has happened 10, 11, 12, many more got absorbed and occupied than were built. That's where all of that demand for a new home went, either into an apartment or into houses that went from owner-occupied to rental property. So if you take the derived new home demand that Metro Study calculates every year and go back to 09, we delivered 22, 20, 18, 21,000 new homes in each of those years. The demand each year was much higher. And so this is kind of a fun thing that Sarah Koslowski in our office figured out how to do, and that is to say in 09, the blue was unmet demand. And what happened in 10? We delivered 20,000, we needed 29 for 2010, and we still had the blue from 09. The same thing applies in 11. We were short the purple. And so when you take all of the prior 4 years and the demand that was not met with a new home that was built, you come to 2013, and new home demand has accumulated to 70,000, and we'll deliver maybe 25,000 in 2013. I think somewhere along the way here, our home buying public got the idea these low rates aren't going to last forever. And so, and y'all helped inspire them to, you better buy. You better buy when the rates are low. There's not a lot of inventory, and there's all of this demand that's been building, and so 2013 has just gone crazy, citywide and in the Woodlands. In the Woodlands, the month supply, over 1 million has gone from about a 2-year down to 10-month supply. This graph takes MLS month supply, homes from 1 million down to 7, from 7 to 6 to 4 to 3 to 2, and on down. And what it says about month supply is in, I think this is March, and then in April, it didn't get much better, in that from 600,000 and down, there's a 1 to 2 month supply. And so as those 2 months evidence the very tight market, and y'all have pocket listings or pocket sales that you probably do even before the home can get into MLS, you've got it sold at probably more than the asking price. So in May, there was a little uptick in inventory of month supply, probably because your BPO now says you can get a lot more than you're thinking for that house. Let's reach, price it accordingly, and let's see if we can get you perhaps a higher sales price than normal. Is that true?
Yes.
You're pushing the prices in resales. So, if the demand is 70,000, we're supplying 23 or 24, I think it's a bona fide shortage. It's going to take years to get the inventory built up for everybody that wants to buy a home to get a home they can purchase. So, with that, we'll click through some of this. If you're in our boardroom, whether we've got potential restaurateurs or tenants or whatever, you're going to see the following sort of slides. Anadarko, aerial shot existing, urban housing, such as it is, not much more of it to go other than some for sale townhomes and condominiums. A view out of the condos across the Marriott with Anadarko and the skyline. We're building another phase of the Millennium Apartments. Big crowds, celebrations every now and then. Don't forget the canoe and kayak facility there on the waterway. You can rent canoes and kayaks. There's a koi garden across from the Marriott. If you're ever walking on the south side of the waterway, you might have seen it. There's never a crowd. Let's talk about, oops, that didn't go back. If you are in the asphalt parking lot, south of the waterway, south of Crush, Luca and Leonardo, and that restaurant building, and you're looking north, you would see Anadarko to your right. You will someday, fairly soon, see us break ground on a new hotel. And on the corner where Bar Louie is right here, this is the 9-story or 7-story parking garage. We have room on the corner for a condominium tower. It's probably no bigger than that. This is a little superfluous. But we see an 18 to 20-story condo tower going at the corner of the parking garage that's right across the street from Bar Louie. And we'll be building a pathway connector above the waterway to get from Bar Louie and Yucatan Stand and that side of the water will connect you to the south side. And on the south side, I've got a couple slides that'll show what could happen there. I think everybody's familiar with Market Street. This is the other side of that parking garage where, in addition to Comcast and the Fiat store, there'll be a bicycle shop, and BurgerFi will come as we skin that retail across that side of the building. We talk about Class A space in the Woodlands being less than 0.5% available, so it's pretty tight. Hughes Landing has pre-leased. If you're one of these companies, you want to see your name up here, so we put them up in our slideshow. A recap of buildings that we built every year, every other year, just to show steady growth for places for employment. I trust everybody's seen the Google Earth shots of the ExxonMobil campus. Let me talk about ExxonMobil just for a second. They contacted us and said, we're moving the 2,600 people in Fairfax, Virginia to this facility January of 2015. Have y'all heard a download on that trip that some people got to make?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. The upshot of it, from what I heard from the people that came past our booth, was they're all, many of them are circling spring break 2014. That's when we're going to take our vacation and look for homes in Texas, in Houston, in the Woodlands, in the surrounding area. So that's kind of I wouldn't take a vacation that spring break 2014. When we had them going through our past, yeah, we gave away the little black thing there that has all the sticky notes inside to each of them to help them identify boxes and whatever they're going to pack. We also slipped a little card in there that said, when you come to the Woodlands, we've got an ExxonMobil discount rate at the Woodlands Conference Center. Come on a weekend, bring your kids. Here's the lazy river, the pool, everything else that the lazy river's under construction. But bring your kids, put yourself up there, and spend some time looking at the area. Coldwell Banker Cardis was there. They had the YMCA, every school district, Chambers of Commerce, the Rockets, the Astros, the Houston Restaurant Association. Steve Sanders from Memorial Hermann was there. It was everything you would want to know. And Exxon put that on for 3 days, 2 nights. They've expanded their reload benefit package from a 6-month window to buy to a 12-month, so they may be here January of next year starting to look. And Exxon's also going to encourage all of the management at Fairfax that when they have a training session in Houston or at the Exxon Training Center at the Woodlands, book it on a Thursday, Friday, and then your fellow employees can spend the weekend looking for homes. And so they're really doing everything they can to help facilitate the search. I think Jeannie and I had a jaw-dropping moment. Full-grown adult people employed at Exxon came past our booth, tell me about housing. We had a new home inventory sheet, and we said, well, as you know, Exxon won't let us give you any paper, so hold your little ID card up, and we had a little handheld device, and we could click and say, well, we'll send you everything via the internet through emails, but here's our inventory book. And they could see homes and sizes and prices. And then, more often, many times, the conversation would be, now all of this data is on our website. There's a home search button. You can search for floor plans and prices. And many of the people said, oh, y'all have a website? Yes, we do. Oh, really? I mean, it was, and we have been back searching through Google search for hits to our website for the last 3 years. When are we going to get these Fairfax hits? It never showed up. And we asked the Exxon execs, y'all have a rule that your people can't be on the internet at work? No, they can be on. So I don't know why they didn't assume we had a website.
Why can't you give them paper?
Exxon said we can't bring.
It was a paperless show.
Oh.
There were 60 organizations.
They
We all
paid to
had.
ship everything out there, and they didn't want to manage all the paper for all this.
So
But what we did was bring a piece of paper, and they could check off everything they wanted about the Woodlands, give us their home address, and we'd send it to them. So we had more often than not, they filled out that piece of paper, gave us all their contact information so that we could send them paper.
Right.
So it's sort of all prices. A lot of them were impressed. A lot of them were impressed that it would be actually possible for them to go and find a lot and pick a plan and have a builder build a home for them. Because they said in Fairfax, by the time something gets entitled and there's an announcement when your home's for sale, there's a trailer, and you get what the builder gives you. And so some are going to have a home built. Many of them said, I'll sell my house in Fairfax and do a lease back, so I'm going to come to Texas with money in my pocket, knowing what I can spend. A lot of, no one answer, but I would say we'll get them all year long for the next 15, 16 months. So it was an amazing experience.
My feet have never hurt so bad.
Waterway Square, these buildings are there, you know they're there. We've got the first, Nexio has moved in 3 Waterway. In 3, I can't be back on this thing.
Go to next.
I'll talk over. In 3 Waterway, our building that is just west of the 2nd Anadarko Tower comes well as the bar, restaurant that's gonna go into that facility. If you've been by the Tinseltown Theater, by the Bistro Hall in Hudson, you've seen the signs from Morton's is coming into that facility where Stir Crazy used to be. We talk about things we can build for commercial. Red could be more hotels, blue could be more buildings. This is a sketch of what could happen on the asphalt parking lot across from Luke and Leonardo. And if somebody will pay the rent, we'll build them an expensive building. If they're a little more value-oriented, we'll build them a more modest building. But that is this is where that asphalt lot is today. It could be a building just like that. It could be a lesser building, but it could happen. McKesson is the building on the left. We have space for 3 more buildings down there by where U.S. Oncology started, and now it's McKesson. And as you go a little bit further into the Woodlands towards the Home Finder Center where Chevron Phillips is, we've got room for some more modest buildings. Talk about Creekside Park, and this is where I want to pick your brain on this subject. As Liberty Branch develops with J. Kyle, David Weekly, Palmetto, and Coventry in the little T&D Americana architecture thing, people will walk down the sidewalks, gather on the collector road, and approach the shopping center here at Kirkendall, and they'll come into that shopping center here. H-E-B is in the bifurcated part of Kirkendall, but instead of our normal grocery store in the center and then retail to either side, the right and left of the grocery store, we've taken H-E-B in this instance, if you will, given them their solo location here, but the other retailers that heretofore had been either side of that grocery store are now to the right and the left of this park, and there's a restaurant site in the center of that, which, in a more glamorous look, is this. Retail to the right, retail to the left, green, spray ground for kids, freestanding restaurant here, and then across the street, this represents H-E-B. So, as we talk about popular restaurants in retail centers in the Woodlands, for example, the more affordable, casual, Skeeters, Chili's, those kinds of things, crust pizza, are easy top-of-mind things to